Yesterday afternoon, as I record this, was a Sunday and the sun was shining. We'd come back from the detox fair and there was a lot of emails. And by the way, I am struggling with the emails. There's about 5,000 emails to answer. And every day the emails come in and it's a battle I cannot win. I don't want to have a secretary and make it impersonal, but at the same time, I'm trying to read all the emails, but I just can't get time to answer them all, and I appreciate them all, but it's very, very difficult. As the YouTube channels got more and more popular and people watch, and then they decide to send me either interesting videos or URLs to stuff to talk about and what have you, and fill me in with stuff which is really helpful. At the same time, I don't get time to watch the email, to watch the videos or read the stuff, because I'm struggling to read the emails, let alone reply to them. But I do thank you. And of course, to all those people who've made amazing donations. So big thank you to that. So anyway, I was trying to do some of that, but I wanted to have a bit of time out because we'd been traveling and I've got some more traveling to do coming up, and there's making videos and all of this, interviews and things. And it's rare to get a bit of time out. So we thought we'd go to the beach because the sun was shining. Julia's young son hadn't seen her mum for a while, and her eldest son too. So we took them down to the beach and we had some chips. Now, I don't normally eat chips these days because of the sunflower oil that they're cooked in. One's trying to protect oneself from all the poisons. There's enough toxins in the atmosphere, with what they're spraying in the sky and what they put into the water, and of course all the EMFs around us. So you don't want to keep adding to that by making sure that your diet is nice and clean rather than eating processed food. But once in a while, you know, it's not going to hurt to go and have a bag of chips on the beach. At least we were getting a bit of vitamin D. And so we were doing that, and little Joe, which is Julia's son, he's only 4, and he's a bundle of energy, he is. Well, unfortunately, on the way back, as we were strolling back, he's walking on the wall. You know how kids like to walk on the walls and what have you, and we were going to slow down, don't go too fast. He tripped, and he fell very awkwardly, and he landed head first on a lump of concrete, on the corner of a lump of concrete, and cut a massive, great chunk out of his head. Blood was gushing everywhere. There were screams, as you can imagine. People come rushing over. We'd rushed over to him because he'd run ahead a bit. And we were comforting him. And of course, Julia was absolutely worried, going, oh my God. I quickly got hold of the car, Julia's car. We took him home briefly, deciding, you know, we're in that very strange place now. We're going, do we need to take him to hospital? And he was getting, it had stopped bleeding, but he was getting a sort of reaction in which all the body's defences are coming together to protect the wound. And of course it comes up, you know, sort of all inflames up like a bit of an egg, lots of water around the wound, starting the healing process, which is a natural thing. But we could see that there was this gash, and it was weeping, but it wasn't bleeding after a while, because Joe was beginning to calm down, and although it was throbbing, he wasn't in a lot of pain, which was really encouraging. But we're sitting there going, oh, blimey, do we go to hospital? Because now, since the medical intervention, and since we've heard about people going to hospital having a tetanus injection, which suddenly discovered it to have had the vaccine in it, and then that person having adverse reactions, you're thinking of the hospitals as not very safe places to go, and I wouldn't want to go to the hospital at all. You're treated very inhumanly anyway, as a number, and of course they want your date of birth and your name and all this information from you, and they're keeping records about you, and well, we all know what's going on. But when you've had an accident where there's been blood and there's a gash, and you don't want it to be infected, and certainly didn't want to put iodine on this because the poor kid would have just shrieked like the house down, thought, what do we do? So we calmed him down for a few minutes, about half an hour, and then realised, well, it's going to have to be glued together. A suture, is it, that they do? They glue it together and put a bit of tape on it, and then it heals up, let it do itself naturally. So we thought, well, we better go. So we went to the A&E, into the children's department. Luckily, it wasn't very full. The other one was filling up like nobody's business, where most, you know, adults go. But the kids section was not too bad. There was about half a dozen people in there. I went and dropped the car back because I didn't want to pay the exorbitant fees in the car park, which is just outrageous in itself. But luckily I live quite near to the hospital, so then I walked back and Julia was there comforting Joe. They'd done the triage. They put a bandage on him just to protect it, and a damp bandage so that it would numb it a bit and make it ready to be glued together. So all was good. And as we were sitting there, Joe's sort of recovering, he's bouncing about still, and you're going, oh my God, for God's sake, don't bang your head a second time. And as we're there, there's some other, women in there with babies and young kids. And I looked in horror. And my heart sank. Firstly, they were getting these babies as much as, I don't know, sort of 6 months old. And they're holding their mobile phones, trying to sort of keep their attention from whatever problem they had with a cartoon or what have you on their mobile phone. Well, we'd just come back from the detox fair, of course, where we've been talking about EMFs and the radiation from the phones and the damage that holding a phone to a child does, which is quite bad. And there's parents doing this. And so this was like a little window for me to realise, oh my God, people are doing this up and down the land in their millions with their mobile phones, not just in hospitals and A&E, but at any time they're going, here, we'll get you to sleep. Have a look at this. They're putting the phone on the back seat of the cars or in the cradles and various things. And the EMFs are circulating these children. I thought, my God, what hope have we got about the next generation? No wonder they'll start to develop cancers and all these other brain problems, because this is what they're doing. This is going to be a huge task to educate the young, particularly the young mums and the young dads who have no knowledge about the dangers of mobile phone technology and what with 5G coming, and they may have also had certain medical interventions, which is rather disastrous. Another young girl came in and she had a whole load of skin problems on a rash, a rather nasty rash, and it did look like she'd fallen into a stinging nettle patch. Which wouldn't have been so bad, really, because the stinging nettles, the body would have reacted to it in a very natural way and would have actually improved her immune system, even though it would have been a bit painful, and you could have used dock leaves back in the day. But anyway, she had this rash and she was in there, and so I couldn't help myself, while we're waiting, and she's going, oh, it's all very itchy and what have you. And I just said, have you tried raw milk? Now, I know that raw milk will help skin, does a lot of help for skin complaints. If it's genuine raw milk, not standardized, not pasteurized, not homogenized milk, not the milk from the supermarkets, but raw milk straight from the cow at proper farm shops or dairies, like John Cook's at Dora's Dairy. And having spoken to John, he's told me of many people who've come in and they've had rashes, and they've tasted his milk and they've been on his milk, raw milk, and it's gone, just like it's gone. It's just gone because the good bacteria in it. And I did mention it. I didn't push it hard. I didn't want to turn out to be some weirdos going on about raw milk, but I said, give that a go. There was another woman with a baby opposite, and poor baby had been on steroids and then had been on what do you call these? Antibiotics, a series of that, which of course has stripped out the gut of all the good bacteria as well. And the poor thing was having sort of chest problems and various things. And so again, I said, have you tried raw milk? Oh no, she can't. She can't take milk products at all. And I said, well, what do you feed her then? She said, oh, we're on this special, some chemical-based bloody formula, dried milk that you add water to and what have you. And I said, try raw milk. I couldn't help myself. I said, try small amount, try raw milk. Don't overheat it, don't do it, don't ordinary milk. She can't take milk products. I said, yes, that's true. Milk products is in everything, but it's homogenized milk, it's pasteurized milk, it's been heated to a certain point. All the goodness of that milk has been taken out, and it's burnt. So I said, just try a bit of raw milk. I mean, what have you got to lose? Rather than putting chemicals in, you've stripped the baby of all the good bacteria in its stomach. You put it on steroids. I mean, this baby looked as if it was about 6 to 8 months old. And, and I just felt really, it was a lovely looking baby. And it just was so sad that it was ill, and it's probably been given the other medical interventions that they do to kids. And I just said, look, you know, try and feed your baby on good, healthy, organic food and a bit of raw milk. I mean, what else can you say? I'm not a doctor. I don't want to be a doctor, thanks very much. And it just opened my mind to the fact that the next generation, these kids that are being born, that parents have no notion of what to do. They're still holding up doctors as the bastion of health, and that when things go wrong, you need to go and have injections of steroids and antibiotics and other creams and petrochemicals and all of these things to hit the symptom, to hit the symptoms, you know, to get rid of the symptom, but not the cause. And I couldn't help myself, you know, I just felt like I needed to sit in A&E all day long telling people, try some raw milk, try some organic food, try to stay off the chemicals, try to get vitamin D in you. Maybe a few supplements would be useful. Get outside into the sunshine, you know, breathe. Don't go in front of televisions and EMFs and computers. Get your kids removed out of the swamp. And I was, you know, desperately trying to have these conversations. And I think this is what we've all got to do. This is those of us who are in the know, those of us who understand now. We are the signposts of the future. This is what we've got to get into ordinary bits of conversation with ordinary people. You see somebody wheezing or coughing or walking a bit slow, somehow gently get that conversation into advising them, not doctor's advice, not legal advice, but gentle advice, healthy, normal, everyday, healthy well-being advice that we can share. Because what could possibly go wrong with a little bit of simple raw milk or organic food, sunlight, the things that we know, some magnesium, bit of iodine, do some grounding, get the kids. The lady with the baby, she said, oh, we're thinking of going camping. I said, do more of that. Go camping, get outside, get into nature. I said, you know, get into the sunshine. Don't put too much sun cream on, obviously not in the hottest part of the sun. And I said, you know, it'll do wonders for you. And these are the conversations that we've really got to get out to people more and more. I was just appalled how people are still brainwashed, how they're not thinking about the health, and you know, are not so much worried about their health as adults, but their babies, the children coming on. These are the ones we've really got to help, because if we're going to save the world from all the evils and the dark forces, we've got to convince people that the healthy, holistic way of doing things is going to be the best for their kids.